Good evening, Schticklers. It's Drake with the Joystick Show, and you'll notice sitting next to me is my wife, Alondra, and we're going to give a quick recap reaction of A Million Miles Away starring Michael Peña. It was a movie that kind of took me by surprise, and I watched it with my wife because she is of Mexican descent, Hispanic origin. And Alondra, what did you think about the movie?
What can I say? A million things.
Sure.
But one word would be inspirational.
Inspirational, yeah. It definitely was. There was lots of moments where you see the character get met with a lot of not just everyday kind of things. You know, life is tough, but you also see a lot of the cultural obstacles where maybe the family isn't really too much into the idea. Well, first and foremost, the movie is about Michael Peña, and since he was a little kid, all he wanted to do was go to space. And it's based off of a real story, and it's about Jose Hernandez and his path from a farm worker to becoming an engineer and an astronaut. It's a tale of perseverance, community, and sacrifice to accomplish a seemingly impossible dream. So, in that, not only a migrant farm worker, but you get a lot of the Hispanic family dynamic. You get a lot of kind of the tropes of what Hispanics go through in terms of doing things outside of that stereotypical norm, farm working, janitorial stuff, etc., etc. From a Hispanic standpoint, what was inspirational for you, and what made you feel the feels whilst watching this movie?
I feel like there was definitely a lot of sacrifice. You do see that in the beginning of the movie, you see that throughout the childhood, and it's not understood until midway. The sacrifice, like the parents did to go to a country, to make money, to work hard, to then try to go back home and have this dream. And they gave that up for their kids' education. And then you see that with the children having to move up and down the coast of California and sacrificing their education and going into a new school every single time and relearning.
Yeah, it was definitely the parents going back and forth or up and down the coast because they were following the money, right? They were following where the jobs were. And with migrant families in general, you definitely get that added pressure of being not only of two different cultures and having to deal with the American culture, but also having to deal with the culture of your parents, and then the sacrifices that your parents have made taking you into a different country for a better life, and kind of the pressure of it all. Even though the dream seems so unrealistic, and even the parents at points in time don't even believe in their child, even though they brought them to this country or to a newer country for a better future, even though they don't really think that they can, have that dream as an individual. So that was really interesting. In terms of the cast, I've said this before, I'll watch anything with Michael Peña, and for this movie I thought, ooh man, what am I gonna watch? But Michael was fantastic. You still get some of the Ant-Man quick-fire scenes where Michael Peña is kind of flashing to one thing and then talking really quickly. We also liked his cousin. What was his cousin's name?
Benito? Yeah.
Berto.
Berto.
And you got to kind of see how that interconnected family and the support that his cousin was giving him. Later on in the movie, there's a lot more tragedy, but Berto's daughter was like, you have to, fulfill that dream because my dad believed in you, I believe in you. And when you think about all the things that you have to do in order to be, a spaceman, what were some of the things that Michael Peña had to do in the movie?
Swim.
He had to learn how to dive. He flew a plane.
Pilot.
He had to run marathons. He had to do a bunch of different stuff. Hold his breath for a long time. And it's not because he wanted to do those things, but he knew that other astronauts who made it did those things. So he's following the path of others before him, but he's doing it in his own way. And I think the defining moment in the movie is when his wife actually who that whole dynamic was really funny because the wife wasn't able to actually go out on a date with him. He had to be in the room with his parents, right? Did you, your family ever have to do things like that where they felt the necessity to kind of vet the person that was dating somebody in the family?
No, but I did hear stories like more my mom's generation. They would have to do that. I think there is a cultural thing where it was like back then you did live with your family until you got married, and so your family did have to meet everybody before, like got to know them. It was involved with the family, came over a lot before you actually dated.
It's interesting in the movie how they kind of, one thing led to another, and it was kind of montagey, but one thing led to another. They ended up getting married. Michael Peña ends up telling her his dream, and she laughs in his face, and you kind of think that that's a turning point, but it really kind of defines the relationship because everything that she then sacrifices, they end up having like 5 kids or something ridiculous like that, and every sacrifice that she makes, that the family makes just for him, and to now have the weight of not only your parents in immigration and migrating, and your family who's sacrificing so that you could have this dream. And obviously it's you can read a book and that Jose Hernandez was actually able to go up into space and became an astronaut. But when he walked into a restaurant into which he also helped fund his wife's dream into owning a restaurant, he walked in with the spacesuit, the blue jumpsuit, and the wife just kind of stopped, paused, looked at him, and was like, oh my God, it finally happened. And to have gone through all the tribulation of the family, of his own family kind of doubting him, of being rejected, I think, 12 times? 11 times?
11 times, and I think this was like a span of like 6 to 10 years? Which, if and when you do watch the movie, hopefully you do, 100% it makes you believe that you can accomplish anything as long as you continue to stick to it. And how did it make you feel knowing that, because we just had that Hot Cheetos movie that came out on a Hulu, which is Hispanic backgrounded. This one is kind of very similar as well too. We're seeing a lot of like Latin culture in movies, which is fantastic in terms of representation. But being a Latin person, how does it make you feel? How does it impact you in whatever way it does? I feel like it's good to see, but you do notice that you do have to work like super hard to break norms, to be excellent in what you want, and be like my favorite line, when his dedication over the years, and then when he went in person and was like, everything I've ever done in my life has been for this. Like, you have to be that dedicated to something, and you see it like it's like perseverance, and like continuing to do that whether the people around you accept you or not, which is hard.
He was definitely, it was for sure hard. I mean, he was able to get there, and then there's another separate amount of scenes where he has to actually do the training, and he's like in his late 30s, early 40s, and he's doing
40s
astronaut training, which you got to deal with G's, you got to deal with upside downness, you got to deal with no gravity.
It's like extreme.
It's super extreme. So not only does it tell you that, that's our cat Chile, that you need to be able to persevere to get to where you're going, but also you have to have that same drive while you're trying to continue on that accomplishment. So on many different levels, this movie was super revealing. Not only was it great for Latin culture, it was great just in terms of perseverance and dreams and hope, but beautiful performances by all of the actors and actresses in here. Michael Peña plays the main character, Jose, and Rosa Salazar plays Adela, his wife. There's also another person that we've watched in La Reina del Sur, Veronica Falcon. She plays a Julia.
I heard her voice and I knew.
Yeah, we knew. And then Sarayu Blue played Kalpana Chawla. Sorry about that. And she was kind of also another fixture. She was a Indian woman who became an astronaut, and she even spoke to Michael Peña's character in the movie about how important it is for kind of us to be present. Essentially, another representation, especially in space, the new frontier. We're not to the point where we can Star Trek and Star Wars yet, but we're getting there. So in terms of the movie as a whole, what would you rate it, and why would you recommend somebody to watch it?
I would rate it a 9.5.
Wow, that's a big score.
Out of 10.
Out of 10, wow. Geez.
I feel like it had a lot. I feel like it had your childhood, your upbringing. Like, I feel like your past defines a lot of who you are as an adult. And so, like, going back to your childhood, showing your culture, showing your parents, and then the timeline of things, and showing more, like, towards adulthood, like in his 40s, with kids, with the family, still having that goal, still having that dream, and like making it happen. Like, it shows that it could take years, and you could have a family. You don't have to do everything in the beginning of your career. Like, it could happen later on. I think there was a lot of, like, you connected. There was like growth in characters. You could see like the family changing. Like, towards the end, they were like super happy for him, or in the beginning they're like, oh yeah, whatever, okay. And like, you see that towards the end, and then you also see, like, spoiler. No, I won't say it.
Yeah,
then.
Let's keep it spoiler free just for this, so we can allow the audience to go watch it and make decisions on their own. I don't know that I rated a 9.5 on a scale out of 10. I mean, it depends what the scale is. I would rate it maybe like a 7.
A 7.
7.8, only because it's a very specific biopic, right? It's not showing us anything new per se, but it is visualizing something that a story of a human being in a very positive way, not only to inspire you to go out there and do stuff, but to let you know that you're not alone in your struggle, that you can have a dream no matter how big or how small, and you can accomplish it. And regardless of whether or not people give you a little bit of resistance or there's obstacle, there's availability for you to do it. I mean, in reality, this person became an astronaut. When you think about an astronaut, it seems like a specific few. But, yeah, I mean, you could do whatever you want, you know what I mean? As Kevin Garnett says, anything is possible. But in terms of that movie, A Million Miles Away, I think from both of us, we'd recommend watch it, would you say?
Yes, I would recommend watching it.
For sure.
You'll cry, you'll laugh, you'll feel inspired.
Fantastic. Yeah. I know that's what our audience wants to do. So, we hope you like our quick reaction / review. We try not to give too much away, and we try to keep it relatively short because we want you to go out there and check it out. But other than that, do you have anything else to say to the audience?
Just keep dreaming.
Just keep dreaming. And thanks for sticking it with us.
The Joystick Show.